All right, let's get a reaction now. We are joined via Zoom by a political analyst, Khanyi Magubane. Khanyi, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Now, given the level of criticism that we saw from MPs, do you think that Ramaphosa managed to address just some of the concerns raised during this debate? As you've heard in the clip, he's spent a lot of time, just defending the appointment of the electricity minister.
Thank you, Unati. I think what the president did today, spent a lot of time, as you say, defending his State of the Nation address. And our president is very good at delivering speeches that are well crafted, that sound well, that try to be inspirational. However, the reality is that the president in his State of the Nation address last week failed to take full accountability of the fact that the energy crisis, if we can just isolate one issue, he failed to take responsibility to say, we are here because we have not always done the right thing at the right time. We've made policy mistakes, we've made government mistakes, and we are going to fix it because we messed it up. He's saying now that it's a collective problem of South Africans, that we should work together as one, as if we created the problem collectively, but we didn't. And in his attempt to now fix this issue, he appoints a minister of electricity, which he says will not be a third bull in the corral that already exists between Minister Gwedeman Tashe and Pravin Gordhan, and now you've got the third minister coming in. So my question to the president is, did he really listen to the MPs when they were responding and debating the State of the Nation address? Because he didn't speak to issues that were raised directly. He didn't bring new solutions to what was being raised. He regurgitated what he presented last week. And this worries me because we are starting to see a president that is somewhat removed to the concerns of parliamentarians who also themselves represent the constituents who voted for them and put them in those positions in parliament.
And one of the things, that I've picked up is that not only does it create confusion amongst MPs, but also within his own ministry currently, some saying that this new role will be merely an administrative role, but he's, of course, at pains saying that it is more than that. But then you have essentially 3 ministers that will be focusing on Eskom, which begs the question, what is he going to do? One of the other things that he raised, Khanyi, is, of course, that they want, as a government, to stop talking and start implementing. That is one of the things that has been criticized over and over again, from various quarters, not only politicians, that South Africa is very good at, documenting some of its plans, but terrible when it comes to implementation.
Well, then I guess that's where they have to have performance scorecards of different departments and have a spelled out performance review process, and also have clear goals and what each department has to attain, and each department is then judged on that. The president has his own scorecard. He should have it for his department and ministries too. And Unati, the reason why we are here today is that government departments are not so much, involved in being performance driven, but it's more performative. And when I say performative, they want to cut the ribbons. They want to have a new program that's being introduced. They want to seem to be doing stuff. But what happens is, after a 5-year term, when the president has then to give his presidential report, which is what the State of the Nation is, he doesn't go back to the things he spoke about directly the year before and give us a performance review. And that is what's lacking, an emphasis of performance, that each person who's hired needs to sign a performance contract. If you don't perform, you're out. That sense of fearing to lose my job if I don't do my job properly needs to be instilled within government. Government officials are too relaxed. Public service is too relaxed.
Another thing that I'd like us to touch on, of course, towards the end of his speech, Khanyi, the president mentioning that, Deputy President David Mabuza indicating his intention to resign. Of course, we know that he made this announcement at a very informal setting before, which raised a lot of speculation and upset, I might say, in some quarters. Now the president saying that he is reviewing and considering, David Mabuza's utterances. But what does this then create in terms of him thanking him for his 5 years of service and also just being on his side?
I think it's a precursor of what's to come. Paul Mashatile was sworn in just about a week or two ago with some of his comrades there into Parliament. And we know that this was paving the way and making way for him to ascend to that position. And I think the president should have been a little bit more decisive in this issue with his current deputy, DD Mabuza, in terms of the rollout process and what is communicated and how it's communicated in the public. Right now, it's a little bit messy because we don't know whether David Mabuza, the deputy president, is going to stay. Is he going to go? It should be clean. He is a deployee. He must be recalled because there is a new incumbent in that issue. There's a new person in that position. It is ANC ways of doing things. And so it really wouldn't come as a surprise because we saw the same happening in KZN with Sihle Zikalala vacating his seat and Siboniso Duma coming in as the new premier. This is the way it's done. So I think the president's office is not handling this issue in a clean and decisive way. I don't think any of us will really raise our eyelids to think something is wrong. No, we understand this is how the ANC works, and they should make it clean and they should make it very decisive. If he has to leave, let him leave and let Paul Mashatile come in.
And of course, a lot of people speculating about why the president is delaying on this matter. Another thing that a lot of people are speculating about is the cabinet reshuffle. Predictions were made that we might see this soon after the SONA address. So when are we likely to see, the president making some decision around that, particularly if you were listening to, his response to the debates, talking about how, issues of corruption will be sorted out, talking about implementations of the NHI. A lot of that needs people behind it, competent people, and he still has not mentioned who is going to be in his cabinet.
I think the president is doing a cabinet review currently because those issues that you mentioned, Onati, are the issues, are the government departments that need new, fresh energy from new ministers. As things stand right now, we know, for instance, that he's going to be bringing in, at least from what we've seen, 4 new ministers. If any of those 4 new MPs who were sworn in last week are anything to go by. And the big one, of course, is who's going to be the Minister of Electricity, because that current position is unfilled, and we know that he's going to make that announcement when he announces the cabinet reshuffle, unless he chooses to do it on its own. I'm assuming that people who've defied him, people like Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, I don't think they're going to come back. I think he's going to fill those positions with key allies. He wants to be surrounded by Ramaphosa allies. He wants to be surrounded by people he can trust. He doesn't want to be surrounded by a cabinet filled with comrades that he fears may stab him in the back at any time. So if anything, this is not just a cabinet reshuffle. This is also a political bolstering that he's doing. He's fortifying his position by surrounding himself with his allies. And I assume that a lot of conversations are currently being held behind scenes with specific individuals that he feels should be coming into government to have his back.
Just as we wrap up, Khanyi, I mean, a lot, if you look back at the debates, the 2-day debates by members of parliament, a lot of them use the opportunity to talk about the upcoming 2024 elections. Of course, a lot of anticipation for a coalition government at a national level, because we are seeing that many municipalities, including metros, of course, being led by coalition governments. So talk to me about some of the prospects that we are likely to anticipate then coming into those elections.
Well, the president made mention of electoral aspirations in his response today. He said that he understands that some of the political parties responded to SONA along the lines of their political campaigning for the upcoming elections next year. I think definitely this is going to set the tone for the year. We're going to see a lot of that. The different political parties are going to hit at the ANC at any given moment, coming to them at different angles. So they're going to hone in on some of the ANC's weaknesses, and they're going to illuminate those, and they're going to raise them at a parliamentary level, because that's where they can be taken seriously, because they know that the importance of this coming elections is really a do or die. South Africa, as I've been saying on many platforms, is really sitting at a place where it cannot afford to have a coalition government at a national level. We cannot afford to have a government that is leading the country that is made up of coalitions, simply because the legislative frameworks for coalition government is not well established in South Africa currently. The lawmakers still need to publish green papers, white papers. We still need to have extensive consultations in terms of how they will work should they happen. We are not ready for a coalition government at that level. If what has happened at the city of Johannesburg is anything to go by, we've seen many individuals changing chairs, being the mayor today, another one is put in, and all of that has to do with how coalitions behind the scenes are agreeing or disagreeing. Now, it is too much of a risk, and it is too important for the stability, the political stability of South Africa, for us not to have that situation currently. So I think it's important for the ANC to know that should they not get a clear majority in the upcoming elections, then we are really in trouble.
And talking about lawmakers, we obviously know that, some will be embarking on that European leg, just to see how other countries are doing it, in terms of coalition government. So it is a space to watch. Khanyi, thank you so much for your analysis and your time this afternoon. Really do appreciate it. Of course, that was Khanyi Magubane, a political analyst.